All right, guys, if you work with me one-on-one, or even if you've just passed me on the street, chances are that I've talked about my gardening. It's something that I'm very passionate about. I get a lot of joy out of it, and I spend a lot of my spare time, my free time in the garden, whether it's with flowers or specifically, and what this is going to kind of circle around with vegetables, food production, gardening. As I'm preparing my garden this winter for what I'm hoping to be a great harvest in the summer and fall, I can't help but think, of course, about the analogies between my gardening in the winter and what it is that we see show up in businesses during the winter. So bear with me for a second. Here's my analogy. One of the things that I've noticed is that gardening comes in seasons. The spring is the fun season. We're starting to see everything pop up out of the ground. We're starting to see what the rest of the year could potentially yield when it comes to our harvesting. Summer is particularly hectic. We've got a lot of picking, a lot of pruning, a lot of things that need to be done to maintain the business, to maintain the garden. Fall is our planning session where I've just gotten through a lot of the harvesting and now I'm deciding what is it that I'm going to be doing for the next year. And then there's this period of time in the winter where I've already set my plan out, but I can't plant anything yet. And nothing's particularly exciting or fun. That's when the hard work really takes place though. So right now, just like the picture that I posted, you're going to see that my vegetable garden is covered in cardboard. And you might be looking at that and going, what the heck is that about? That was an intentional plan built off of a model to smother out the weeds that grew up during the spring, summer, fall of last year and prepare the bed to be clear and ready to roll for tilling and preparation and nutrient implementation and all the fun stuff that needs to happen next. So here's where the analogy gets deep, right? I knew that I had a game plan around, I'm going to use this cardboard smothering method to get these weeds gone and to prepare as step one for my garden as we roll into the spring and summer. However, my neighbor did not know that. So my neighbor the other day looks out, we're standing at our fence line talking to one another, and he goes, what the heck is going on with your garden? What is this? You got trash all over your garden. That's what it looks like, right? Because he doesn't know. And I laughed about it. And I had two options at that point. I could go, this looks really silly. This looks dumb. I'm going to pull this up and get it looking nice again and skip the process of preparing and just move into making it look good. Or I could stick with, I have a plan. I decided this plan in the fall, and I'm going to see this through to the end. And that's what I decided, of course, because we've already come this far and I'm interested in seeing the results of this particular model. I didn't get into the weeds with him with, no pun intended, with knowing that this is a model that experts have created, and I can reference back to what has worked for them. But that's another piece of this puzzle here. So not only am I not concerned about what my neighbors think, because I know that I have a game plan. Does this resonate in terms of what our peers think in real estate and other business ventures? But I also have not just a game plan that I've come up with that I'm comfortable with, but it's one that's based in models and other expert opinion. So I don't feel the need to waver from that either, because I know that it's worked for other people. So those two things relate a ton. The next phase is that once I go through and I've pulled up the cardboard and all the weeds have been killed out, then I need to do an evaluation about, okay, what else needs to be done to this environment to make sure that it is going to be one that is fruitful for the plants that I'm choosing to plant in it. So I may need to add some nutrients. I may need to change up the soil composition a little bit. Very similar to, what does my business need? And is the environment that I've created one that I could expect to reap big rewards from it? Or do I need to tweak the environment, add in additional tools, lead support, agents to support the leads that are coming in, whatever it might be, in order to get the right results out of it? So that'll be my next step. Throughout all of this, though, comes back to the fact that we did work out and wrote down a game plan in the fall for what my garden was going to be, just like we did for our businesses, right? And so if we haven't taken a second, if the doubt's starting to creep in, if you're starting to feel like I need a whole new plan, my neighbors are looking at me funny, or it feels slow and boring and I need something to shake it up and make it chaotic, stop for a second and instead ask yourself just a couple of questions and write them down so that you can refer back to them. The first question I would ask myself is, what is the growth plan that I've committed to? Write it down. That could be, I've committed to this particular lead generation model, or I've committed to this particular marketing plan or this particular hiring plan. Write it down. Do not deviate from it. The second question I would ask myself is, who are the experts or what are the models that I can model my business, my garden, whatever it is, off of, that when I get doubtful, I can go back to the source. Write that down. The third and final question that I would ask myself is, what are the specific skills, knowledge, community connections that I need in order to make sure that I can stick with this plan and have success with it? Just like I'm asking myself, what else needs to happen in my soil environment in order to support a strong and healthy garden? So go through those 3 questions, write them down, put them somewhere easily accessible so that when you have doubt, and you will, it's the cold, boring part of the year, that you can pull those questions out, review your answers, and remain steady in your game plan. There's my gardening analogy for the winter.